Hello everyone. Welcome to my YNR 24 Spoilers channel. Holden suggests Klaire. Victoria plays Cupid, and Sally and Audra plot. According to Tuesday, September 23rd spoilers for the young and the restless. Victoria Newman plays Cupid, Abbott suffers a setback, and Sally Spectra and Audra Charles handle damage management. Sally informs Audra of Billy Abbott's most recent error. Abbott Communications is sunk by him. However, Audra and Sally are not give-uppers, and they try to salvage what they can. Sally and Audra want to take advantage of the fact that two heads are better than one. Their hopes are still alive if Billy can persuade Jack Abbott to reimburse Abbott Communications. Is Billy able to put his pride aside? Since Kane Ashby removed Billy from his slash and burn team due to his emotional instability, Billy is now the one out in the cold. Will Billy return to Jack with his tail between his legs after this most recent setback? Even if he does, Jack still has the last say over whether to work with his loose cannon of a brother. Billy has burned Jack more times than he can remember. He would avoid Billy Boy and all of his constant drama if he were intelligent. But when family is involved, it could be easier to say than to do. Cupid is played by Victoria. Victoria, meantime, is trying to patch up the rift between Kyle and her daughter Klaire Newman. Kyle is told by Victoria to man up and keep his distance from Klaire, who is fragile. If Holden Novak isn't careful, Kyle's constant pressing of Klaire could drag her into his orbit. What takes place in Genoa City next? Kane has advised Holden to become closer to Klaire. It's unclear how shady Holden is because he was forming a good friendship with her before this. Holden, however, takes a risk when he asks Klaire to join him in Los Angeles. Kyle will lose his mind if Klaire says yes. Should Kyle's emotions, however, prevent her from embracing life to the fullest? What do you think, YNR fans? Do you support Team Colden or Team? Regardless of who her daughter is with, we're fairly certain Victoria just wants her to be happy. But is that possible with either of these secret keepers? Sally and Audra's plot, recovering from Billy's error. When tragedy hits, Sally Spectra and Audra Charles are not the kind of women who prefer to remain silent and lick their wounds. This is made clear at the beginning of the script when Sally informs Audra about Billy Abbott's most recent disaster. Billy has been acting carelessly for weeks now, believing that his slash and burn strategy will somehow guarantee him respect and power in the business sector. Rather, he has succeeded in destroying Abbott Communications completely. Those who are familiar with Billy's history of audacious but disastrous decisions won't be surprised by the implosion. But Sally and Audra see it as a catastrophe that jeopardizes their own goals. These two women have put in countless hours to establish themselves in the competitive business world of Genoa City. Audra, the astute strategist, and Sally, the ever-creative dreamer, forged an uncomfortable but unquestionably successful alliance. They wanted to work together to create something long-lasting, something that would take them above the status of mere players in the power struggles of men like Victor, Jack, and Billy. The women are now frantically trying to save not just their reputations, but also the fundamental basis of their future careers as Abbott Communications collapses like a house of cards. It says everything about Sally and Audra's tenacity that they instantly get back together and start planning their next course of action. Neither is inclined to dwell on their own misery. Sally has persevered through disappointments in Genoa City and Los Angeles by constantly reinventing herself. Despite being more recent to the canvas, Audra has shown herself to be just as resourceful, succeeding where others would struggle. Sally's suggestion that Billy might be able to persuade Jack to reimburse Abbott Communications may seem desperate at first, but it's also a sensible one. Jack has the means, the standing, and the established commitment to ensuring Abbott Enterprises remains relevant. Sally and Audra's dreams would just be recentered if they could convince him to reinvest. Naturally, the irony is that Sally and Audra are depending on Billy, the man who started this disaster, to maybe save them. Although that dependence is unsettling, Odd relationships are frequently forced by necessity in the soap opera industry. It demonstrates how persistent Sally and Audra are that they refuse to allow Billy's incapacity destroy their dreams. The plot also creates an intriguing dynamic. Can two underappreciated women truly outsmart the guys who are supposed to be in charge? This may be one of the most impressive corporate comebacks Genoa City has witnessed in a long time if they are successful. Is Billy Abbott able to put his pride aside? Cycles of success and failure have characterized Billy Abbott's life. Every daring triumph has been followed by an equally spectacular collapse, and this most recent disaster is but the most recent episode in his never-ending tale of self-destruction. Billy's dismissal from Kane Ashby's slash and burn squad was both embarrassing and expected. Billy's erratic behavior was perceived by Kane, who is already emotionally unstable, as more of a liability than a strength. Kane's choice reflects what many Genoa City residents have already come to. Billy is brilliant when he shines, but he is also impulsive, careless, and far too egotistical. The key question at this point is whether Billy will go back to Jack Abbott, pleading for another opportunity. On the one hand, Billy has repeatedly shown that when desperation strikes, he is not above groveling. However, one of his distinguishing characteristics is his pride, which frequently works against him. This situation poses a conundrum for Jack. Jack's love for his brother and his understanding that Billy is a constant liability have always been at odds. Jack has repeatedly offered forgiveness and opportunities, only to watch Billy waste them. It would be very reasonable for Jack to finally draw the line because the wounds from those betrayals are still very much there. However, reason seldom wins out in the realm of family and legacy, two subjects that are deeply ingrained in the Abbott dynasty. Even though Jack tells himself to avoid Billy, his empathy frequently triumphs over reason when he sees how vulnerable his brother is. This is exactly what makes the plot so interesting. Viewers are left wondering if Jack would once again let himself be let down, as well as if Billy will swallow his pride. The resolution of this family conflict could have a significant impact on Sally and Audra's future. Their careers are spared if Billy persuades Jack to reinvest. They will need to find a different method to emerge from the ashes if they don't. In any case, Billy's incapacity to control his impulses has repercussions that go well beyond him and affect almost every aspect of Genoa City's commercial environment. Victoria's protective instinct, playing Cupid. Another intriguing plotline is developing on the personal front as the corporate mayhem is taking place. Victoria Newman, a shrewd businesswoman and fiercely protective mother, finds herself acting as a mediator, or maybe a referee, between her daughter Klaire and Kyle Abbott. In addition to romance, there are layers of complexity here, including concerns about vulnerability, trust, and familial expectations. Emotionally, Klaire Newman is still in a vulnerable state. Trauma, betrayal, and a persistent battle to establish oneself outside of her family's shadow have all been part of her journey. Ever the endearing Abbott, Kyle has been working hard to gain Klaire's affection. Although his love is sincere, his perseverance runs the risk of overpowering her. As a mother, Victoria is concerned that Kyle's intensity may unintentionally drive Klaire away. Holden Novak comes in. Holden was becoming genuinely friendly with Klaire until Kane told him to get close to her for his own nefarious intentions. Because of this, he is a complex character who is both a possible suitor and a pawn in a bigger game. Victoria urges Kyle to back off and give Klaire space since she is aware of the risks, but also acutely aware of her daughter's needs. Her reasoning is straightforward. Kyle might push Klaire straight into Holden's arms if he keeps applying too much pressure. Victoria's participation gives the plot more depth and heart. She knows better than most that pressing someone rarely results in long-lasting bliss because she has made her fair share of blunders in love. She believes Klaire should be allowed to make her own decisions, even if they are risky. Victoria is empathetic and practical as a result. Her goal is to establish an environment where Klaire can flourish without being constrained by outside forces, not to exert control over her romantic life. Holden makes a brave move, by offering Klaire. A plot event that could significantly alter the romantic landscape is Holden Novak's invitation to Klaire to move to Los Angeles. Holden's action may be viewed as opportunistic on the one hand, since Kane had previously pushed him to pursue Klaire for nefarious reasons. Conversely, the story is made more difficult by Holden and Klaire's developing friendship. He seems to be interested in her out of real concern rather than only manipulation. The idea is all the more alluring because of this ambiguity. Klaire interprets the offer as a sign of peril as well as temptation. Saying yes would enable her to enter a new phase of freedom and escape the oppressive drama of Genoa City. However, it would also entail leaving behind Kyle, who is obviously in love with her, and taking a chance on a man whose genuine motivations are still unknown. If Klaire agrees, Kyle's response is obvious. He would be incensed, devastated, and perhaps even compelled to act in a desperate manner. According to the history of soap operas, Abbott is not beyond plotting when it comes to personal affairs, because it capitalizes on classic soap opera cliches, such as the love triangle, the proposal that may alter everything, and the question of whether someone's intentions are good or bad. The Holden Klaire plot is especially compelling. Fans are already split. Some support Colden, while others are more interested in him. The argument itself heightens the tension, guaranteeing that the consequences of Klaire's decision will be devastating. What takes place in Genoa City next? A rich tapestry of drama is created by the convergence of several storylines. Holden's audacious proposal, Victoria's protective matchmaking, Billy's self-destructive pride, and Sally and Audra's corporate plotting. Every thread is interconnected, creating a story where goals for one's career and personal life meet. Jack's choice about Billy might determine the fate of Sally and Audra. Kyle might need to pay attention to Victoria's suggestions if Klaire is to be happy in the future. Viewers are left wondering if Holden is a friend or an enemy because his true nature is still unknown. The harmony this script achieves between character growth and story advancement is what makes it so powerful. Though they drive the plot in novel and unexpected ways, each character's decisions feel grounded in their past. This delicate dance between the known and the unknown is what Genoa City is all about, and this plotline provides plenty of both. In the end, the supporters were asked, "Are you on Team Colden or Team?" Isn't limited to shipping choices. It concerns the future that Klaire will shape for herself. Will she decide on Kyle's security and protection despite all the baggage that comes with his family's history? Or will she gamble on Holden, venturing into unknown waters that can either free her or trap her in another perilous plot? Victoria, who wants her daughter to be happy but is smart enough to understand that happiness must be found rather than forced, is watching over everything. Audra and Sally, an odd sisterhood of survival. It becomes evident that Sally and Audra are forming more than just a business collaboration when one examines their relationship in greater detail. It's an agreement to survive. In separate ways, both women are outsiders in Genoa City. Audra is the ambitious newcomer with a shadowy past, and Sally is the red-headed firebrand with a history of destroying bridges. Both of them have been undervalued, disregarded, or exploited as pawns by strong men. Together, they form a force that has the potential to challenge the legacy families that control the city's political systems. The way their personalities work well together is amazing. Audra adds calculation, resourcefulness, and the capacity to see past emotional haze to achieve outcomes. Sally brings creativity, emotional intelligence, and audacious vision. They work as a yin-yang pair, enhancing each other's strengths and compensating for each other's shortcomings. Because viewers are aware that they are not natural allies, two women who may have been rivals in a different world. Their scenes together are brimming with intensity. Rather, they have become partners due to need. Every conversation between them is laden with potential because of that delicate tension. Will they stay faithful, or will ambition ultimately cause their alliance to fall apart? Billy, the domino of emotions. Billy's failures have had a profoundly human impact in addition to financial ones. Billy has spent years attempting to demonstrate that he is more than just the troublesome kid of the Abbott family. Each setback erodes his sense of value and strengthens the argument that he is unreliable as a leader. In addition to hurting Sally and Audra, his most recent error with Abbott Communications reopens ancient wounds for him. Like a younger brother who never stops striving to gain acceptance but never succeeds, his yearning for Jack's approval is almost heartbreaking. Billy's decision to ask Jack for assistance will be a very personal one rather than merely a professional one. Jack's answer might confirm Billy's darkest suspicions or provide him with the atonement he longs for. In any case, Billy's path is one of the storyline's emotional dominoes. His choices cause a cascade of effects that affect not only the Abbotts, but also Sally, Audra, and even Victoria, who is all too familiar with what it's like to have problematic brothers. The Holden, Klaire, and Kyle triangle, a dramatic pressure cooker. However, the Holden, Klaire, and Kyle triangle is at the center of the personal drama. Kyle's desperate attempt to keep Klaire at his side seems more like a fear of losing control than a genuine commitment. Victoria's viewpoint is crucial in this situation because she sees what Kyle does not, that his stifling intensity could have disastrous consequences. Because of her history of deception, Klaire is especially vulnerable to pressure. No matter how well-meaning, Kyle's insistence runs the risk of forcing her into Holden's arms, not because she loves him more, but because Holden stands for freedom. Thus, Holden's proposal is a test of Klaire's independence, rather than just a romantic gesture. Will she use the opportunity to depart from a city that has shaped and constrained her? Or will she remain entrenched in the complex triangle of love that promises just as much suffering as passion? The clever thing about this plot is that neither option is safe. If she goes with Kyle, she runs the risk of becoming overwhelmed by his demands. She enters a potentially compromised connection with Kane if she decides to go with Holden. In any case, Klaire is exercising her agency, which is why she is such a strong character at this particular time. Make sure to keep up with all of the current events on The Young and the Restless. For the most recent YNR news, spoilers, and updates, return frequently. Sit back and enjoy the greatest soap opera information available online.